Welcome back to IELTS Time. In today's lesson, you'll watch Finn answer a series of Part 3 questions on the topic of technology and artificial intelligence. After that, we'll break down each answer and take a closer look at the main points he discusses. Let's get started.
Why do people often experience problems when using new technology?
I think one of the main reasons is that technology is developing much faster than people can adapt to it. Every year, new devices, apps, and systems are introduced, and many users simply don't have enough time to understand how they work. Another issue is that some companies focus more on adding new features than on making their products user-friendly. As a result, even simple tasks can become frustrating for people who are not particularly tech-savvy. That being said, I think these problems are often temporary because people usually become more comfortable once they gain experience.
Do you think people rely too much on technology nowadays?
Yes, to a certain extent, I think we have become overly dependent on technology. For example, many people would struggle to find their way without GPS or remember important information without using their phones. Technology has definitely made our lives more convenient, but it has also reduced our ability to do certain things independently. However, I don't think the solution is to avoid technology altogether because it brings enormous benefits. The key is to use it as a tool to support our abilities, rather than allowing it to replace basic skills.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of AI?
I think the biggest advantage of AI is that it can save people a huge amount of time by handling repetitive tasks and processing information quickly. It can also support professionals in fields like healthcare, education, and scientific research by helping them make better decisions. However, one major disadvantage is that people may become too dependent on AI and stop developing their own critical thinking skills. There are also concerns about job displacement, especially in industries where tasks can be easily automated. Overall, I think AI is extremely valuable, but it needs to be used responsibly and with proper human supervision.
How can AI help people in their daily lives?
AI can help people in many practical ways, especially by making everyday tasks faster and more efficient. For instance, virtual assistants can help people organize their schedules, while AI-powered tools can improve communication and provide quick access to information. In education, AI can personalize learning by identifying students' weaknesses and suggesting suitable materials. It can also assist elderly people or those with disabilities by providing more accessible services. I think the greatest benefit of AI is that it can handle routine tasks, allowing people to spend more time on activities that require creativity and human judgment.
Should children learn how to use AI at school?
No, I don't think children should be taught how to use AI at school, at least not at a young age. I think children first need to develop basic skills such as critical thinking, writing, and problem solving without relying on technology. If they are introduced to AI too early, there is a risk that they might use it as a shortcut instead of making an effort to learn independently. That being said, I do think older students should learn about AI because it will probably become an important part of their future careers. So rather than encouraging children to use AI from an early age, schools should focus on building strong foundations first.
Do you think students are becoming too dependent on AI?
Yes, I think this is becoming a concern, especially because some students use AI to avoid doing the thinking themselves. For example, instead of using AI to check their ideas or improve their writing, some students may simply copy answers without understanding the content. Over time, this could weaken important skills such as problem solving, creativity, and independent learning. However, I don't think AI itself is the problem, because it can be a very useful learning tool when used properly. The real issue is whether students are using it as a support system or as a replacement for their own effort.
What can teachers do to encourage students to use AI responsibly?
I think teachers should focus on teaching students how to use AI critically rather than simply banning it. For example, they could ask students to compare AI-generated answers with their own ideas and identify mistakes or weaknesses. Teachers could also design assignments that require personal opinions, creativity, or real-world application, which are harder for AI to complete effectively. At the same time, schools should establish clear guidelines about when and how AI can be used. In my opinion, the goal should be to help students develop a healthy relationship with AI instead of treating it as something negative.
Do you think future technology will make people's lives easier or more complicated?
I think it will probably do both depending on how people manage it. On the one hand, future technology will likely make many aspects of life more convenient by improving healthcare, transportation, and communication. On the other hand, increasingly complex systems may create new challenges, especially for people who struggle to keep up with technological changes. There's also the risk that people may become too dependent on machines and lose some traditional skills. Overall, I believe technology will improve our lives, but society needs to make sure that progress is balanced with human needs.
All right, that was the mock interview. Now let's go through those 8 questions one by one and focus on the main points Finn shared in his responses. Question 1. Why do people often experience problems when using new technology? Finn believes that technology is developing faster than many people can adapt to. He points out that companies often focus on introducing new features rather than making products easy to use. As a result, even simple tasks can become frustrating for users who are unfamiliar with new systems. However, he doesn't see these difficulties as permanent, because people usually become more comfortable with technology as they gain experience. Question 2. Do you think people rely too much on technology nowadays? Finn believes that many people have become overly dependent on technology in their daily lives. He uses examples such as GPS and smartphones to show how people increasingly rely on digital tools for navigation and remembering information. While he acknowledges that technology makes life more convenient, he also feels that it has reduced people's independence in certain situations. Overall, he argues that technology should be used to support human abilities rather than replace basic skills altogether. Question 3. What are the advantages and disadvantages of AI? Finn sees efficiency as one of AI's greatest strengths. He explains that AI can save people time by handling repetitive tasks and processing information quickly. He also highlights its ability to support professionals in fields such as healthcare, education, and scientific research by helping them make better decisions. However, he raises concerns about people becoming too dependent on AI and losing important critical thinking skills. He also mentions the possibility of certain jobs being replaced through automation. Question 4. How can AI help people in their daily lives? Finn believes that AI can make everyday life more efficient in a variety of ways. He mentions virtual assistants that help people organize their schedules, as well as AI-powered tools that improve communication and provide quick access to information. He also discusses how AI can support education through personalized learning experiences. In addition, he points out that AI can make services more accessible for elderly people and individuals with disabilities. In his view, AI's greatest benefit is that it can handle routine tasks, allowing people to focus on activities that require creativity and human judgment. Question 5. Should children learn how to use AI at school? Finn takes a cautious approach to this issue. He believes that young children should first develop essential skills such as writing, critical thinking, and problem solving without relying on technology. His concern is that introducing AI too early could encourage students to take shortcuts rather than learn independently. However, he also recognizes that AI will likely play an important role in future careers. For that reason, he believes older students should learn about AI once they have already developed strong academic foundations. Question 6. Do you think students are becoming too dependent on AI? Finn believes this is becoming a genuine concern. He argues that some students use AI as a shortcut instead of engaging with ideas and thinking independently. As a result, they may copy answers without fully understanding the content. He warns that this could weaken important skills such as creativity, problem solving, and independent learning. However, he makes it clear that AI itself is not the problem. Rather, the issue comes from how students choose to use it. Question 7. What can teachers do to encourage students to use AI responsibly? Finn believes teachers should teach students how to use AI responsibly, rather than simply banning it. He suggests encouraging students to compare AI-generated answers with their own ideas and identify weaknesses or mistakes in those responses. He also recommends designing assignments that require creativity, personal opinions, and real-world application. In addition, he believes schools should establish clear guidelines regarding when and how AI should be used. Overall, he sees education and guidance as the best way to encourage responsible AI use. Question 8. Do you think future technology will make people's lives easier or more complicated? Finn believes future technology will make life both easier and more complicated. On the positive side, he expects major improvements in areas such as healthcare, transportation, and communication. However, he also believes increasingly complex systems could create new challenges, particularly for people who struggle to keep up with technological change. He further warns that society may become too dependent on machines and gradually lose certain traditional skills. Ultimately, he argues that technological progress should be balanced with human needs and well-being. And that's a wrap for today's lesson. Hopefully, this lesson has given you a clearer idea of how to discuss technology and artificial intelligence in Part 3. If you'd like more practice, additional lessons, and exclusive content, consider becoming a member. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next one.